Here is a 2023 Infiniti Q50 Sensory in graphite over graphite shadow. One of the only vehicles in its class that has a twin turbo V6. You can option the Red Sport 400 or just keep it as a luxury vehicle. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to go over all the details of this Infiniti and some of the upcoming changes for the next year's model. In the front is going to get standard LED headlights, LED fog lights, and optioning the Sensory will get the Sport exterior, which will give you the gloss black that's going to be around the grille, on the lower splitter, and around the fog lights, the side view mirror, the side window housing, the center strip with the Infiniti badge, and the lower bumper. Otherwise, it's going to really stress more of a luxury variant. So I like that you can get this sporty attribute without optioning the Red Sport 400, which will tune this 3.0 liter V6 that already pumps out 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque paired to a 7-speed automatic transmission. The Red Sport 400 is going to give you an additional 100 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. So you're at another 55 pound-feet of torque. That's why it's a little bit more of that sports side. I did like the Q60 just a touch more because it was the coupe, but they're not going to offer that anymore, so you can only get the sedan. It also changes your suspension. Standard four-way, four-wheel independent suspension. With the Red Sport 400, dynamic digital suspension. Standard is an 18-inch wheel. This is a 19-inch sport design wheel. You get the gloss black that's going to be on the center cap because this is the Sensory. The lower skirt, I wish that they added a little bit of that, because when you get into the Red Sport 400, they do add some carbon fiber bits. That's going to be on the front and on the rear. It's going to get a little bit more aggressive, but you're also expecting that because of the increase of the price, which is not necessarily that much more. You're at about $7,000 to $10,000 difference. So if you are looking for that performance, it doesn't only upgrade the engine or the suspension, it gives you 4 pistons in the front, over an inch more disc reading in the front, and the rear gets a 2-piston, where standard you're getting a 2-piston front and a single piston that's going to be in the rear. Going to the competition, the Acura TLX. The base engine is not going to be able to keep up with this. The Type S obviously will beat this, but then you go to the Red Sport 400 and then it's a different type of a race, because you get 45 horsepower more with the Infiniti, and it's a twin turbo, not a twin scroll turbo. The same thing with BMW and Mercedes. None of them are offering a twin turbo at a $50,000 price point. And going to the Red Sport, you're just around $60,000. So when you're considering what you're getting as dynamics for this package, it's a sedan that will take pretty much everybody at its price point, and it gives you more performance numbers for the value that you're getting. 19 MPGs for the city, 27 MPGs for the highway, so you get your daily drive. And I mean, I hate to say it, but if you don't option the Red Sport 400, tune the engine yourself, and you can lower this because the ground clearance is still going to be higher. It's just a touch under 5 inches, whereas all the competition is barely 4.5 inches. Standard LED taillights with LED brake lights because of the Sensory. The lower keeps an aggressive profile, but if you really wanted to look as aggressive as Infiniti wants it, you would have to go Red Sport 400 because they changed the exhaust. It looks a little bit more beefy, and it also has a little bit more of that soundtrack. We get a front and reverse parking sensors with a surround view camera, which is your 360-degree reverse camera. Quick release, going into 14 cubic feet of storage. The opening is basically the same as the rivals. Underneath the floor, no spare tire, but you have some configuration that you can put some tools. We have a pass-through, and you can split fold the rear bench in the back, which beats a lot of the competition. It will have about a 4-inch clearance, but it does open up the cargo capacity to the sedan. Let's go inside, start up, so you can hear that exhaust note. Graphite shadow, standard leather appointed seats, 10-way power seat adjustment for the driver, 8-way power seat adjustment for the passenger, standard heated seats, memory for the driver. Headroom for the driver, not going to be an issue, nor is leg space for the front occupants. It is a deep footwell. The only difference is on the passenger side, you'll notice that they have this little wall that kind of bulges out a little bit more so. Passenger has their own air vents with the open pore wood, and the driver has their own, so it gives more of a sporty Q. The dashboard and the door panels integrated together. 2-screen layout, an 8-inch upper and a 7-inch lower. The top is the Infinity InTouch, basically your navigation, and you'll see the climate control and the audio sound system. And the lower is a 7-inch vehicle information screen that can go through your audio sound system, any different settings. One thing that I've already found as a con is if you want to do a dual climate control setting, there isn't any buttons to push on either side. You have to physically go into the climate and hit dual here in order to have it set at the same temperature. CD player underneath. Used to be a cigarette ashtray, but now there's not really use for it. But you do get a 12-volt wood, open wood pore comes in with the aluminum that's going to wrap around. Rotary knob for the infotainment screen that you can go through for your navigation. You can also push the camera on the fly, so you have a 360-degree reverse camera, full trajectory. The cool thing about this surround view camera is Infinity is the one that actually developed it first. Driver mode select right here, which when you change the modes, you'll get a diagram of basically what it is. It's going to be soft where you rest your arms, open up inside, and it's a medium-sized storage pocket. It is pushed back a little bit more so. 2 USBs and a 12-volt, and with Infinity, they give you this to clean your 2 screens. The key fob for the Q50. Leather wrap steering wheel, multi-function, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist. The gauge cluster has a TFT display that can go through an array of information for the driver, including your turn-by-turn navigation in different settings. The door panel gets the open wood pore. If you get the Red Sport 400, you're going to get carbon fiber inlays. Aluminum inlays will go onto the top. I like the pattern that comes into play, one touch up and down for all the windows. 16 speakers through Bose, which I always like their sound system because you get some bass and treble. Door panel is about a medium size. You get a beverage holder in the front. Standard moonroof with a auto dimming rear view mirror. For the back seats, you sit up a bit, which is why my head is more or less on the headliner. And if you move over here, it just, because of the design on the exterior, you can see where it just kind of comes in a little bit more so. Leg space is going to be a little bit tight for somebody that's over 6 foot. You do get storage behind both of the front seats, USB ports, air vents in the center. And I kind of like the way this center cluster is because you can use it and still actually utilize the cup holders. Because typically you sit like this, but because this lifts up, you can actually sit like this comfortably. The door panel is going to have the same materials found in the front, so you get the sporty design, the open wood, and the aluminum one touch up and down, except no storage at all, which is going to really hurt this going against some of the rivals for an everyday vehicle. As for sitting into the center, feet space is going to be a little bit compromised because the rails bulge up and they push your feet inwards. Therefore, sharing butt and shoulder space, because this also kind of moves in. It's a little bit more flattened than some of the rivals, but headroom, as you're noticing, it's not desirable for somebody to sit in the center at 6'3". Q50 Sensory, which is going to be standard all-wheel drive. If you get the Lux, it's standard rear-wheel drive. You can't option all-wheel drive. So it is something to take in consideration. If you're looking at going down, I would say go to the Essential at least, because then you can get some of the amenities. I do like that in the infotainment, you're getting standard wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto. The updates for 24 has not been announced yet, but what I'm assuming is this InTouch system will probably be reconfigured because they have been changing all the infotainment screens in all of the Infinity line, but I'm not going to be quoted on that because they may change their mind. 0 to 60 in this is around 5 seconds, which is quick for an everyday vehicle, and it's still family oriented. When you go into any of the rivals, they're going to be at least 0.4 to nearly a second or more slower than this. So again, the bargain that you're getting, a twin turbo V6, it's really unheard of to get at such a low MSRP when you're going for the Lux. But on the downfall, you don't get the intelligent all-wheel drive system. But you can still option the Bose 16 speaker stereo system, and it's going to be the same suspension. So if you're looking to get that Red Sport 400 out of it, you know you can tune this engine to at least 400 horsepower. We got it in sport mode. We're going to see the dynamics as soon as this light turns green. It is raining, so we're going to have to be a little cautious, but it's all-wheel drive. Here we go. It's a fun vehicle. It has a decent exhaust note that filters in. The Red Sport 400, I've reviewed them a few times. It does sound a little bit more so in the interior, but the sound deadening is really good. Standard UV glass is going to be on the front windscreen and the front windows, which when you're looking at this price point, you really have to understand that you are getting quite a bit of value. But there are some negatives and pros, and that's what we're going to start talking about, which is the pros. Basically the only vehicle that's a twin turbo V6 that touches under $50,000 when you go to the Lux. And at a $50,000 to $60,000 price point, 400 horsepower, which typically if you go BMW, Audi, Mercedes, you know you're going to be spending more money than that, because they're going to start going to around $65,000 near $70,000, especially if you're optioning a M340i that's going to start with features similar to this right at $60,000. Whereas you're getting this fully loaded. Some other nice points about the vehicle: standard moonroof, standard heated front seats. A con not standard is navigation. Let's see how she goes now. She pushes you back. I mean, 295 pound-feet of torque, that's pretty much what every German is getting except for Audi. This outclasses the Audi 100% with horsepower and torque at a base vehicle. Some other cons is you have to use this 7-inch informational display a little bit more so than I like. You have buttons for the climate control, but say you want to put it as standard at 69 or 70 degrees. You have to go physically into climate and then take the dual off in order for it to be the same. And then you don't have any storage for the rear doors, which pretty much everybody is going to have storage back there. So it makes it a little bit less usable in the sense of this is their only sedan that they offer. It's different if you go into BMW, Audi, Mercedes, because you have multiple sedans or hatchbacks that you can choose from. But when it comes to Infiniti, this is the only one. So you want to really optimize storage and maybe a little bit more leg space, because it is a little bit tight. But the way the engine feels, it's on point. I mean, it's on demand when you push the gas pedal. There's not really a lot of hesitation, and a lot of that is because it's a twin turbo, which typically you would feel a little bit of lag, but even when you're at a higher speed, meaning over 70, it's still able to take off. So even going into like a Mazda 6, which they discontinued, this is gonna have a little bit more of that pep at higher speeds and even at lower speeds, so it really ticks the box for that. There's not a lot of storage in the front either, so putting my sunglasses, I had to pretty much put it in the passenger seat because the door pocket's a little small. They got this cigarette ashtray, which they should have probably taken out because it's not really usable when you put this in park because it covers it up. So maybe put some more ports there. I think that would be a little bit more utilized, and maybe not necessarily have a pass-through, but just open this up a little bit. Maybe have a little storage compartment here, because the storage that's in the center is a little bit more push back. So if you're short, you're not really going to be going like this to open it up. And look at this thing. It's nimble, feels good on the road in the sense that it's not too wide, so you can move around. You got nearly 5 inches of clearance. It's not that long of a vehicle. I mean, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank Infiniti of Clearwater for giving us this 2023 Infiniti Q50 Sensory for our car review.